Victoria. The object was to bring the lake under British control. Rumors of this vast lake had first reached European explorers in the 1840s. Following the discovery of America, the geographical riddle that most intrigued and expanding Europe was the source of the Nile. In the late 1850s, two Britons, Richard Burton and John Henry Speke, set out on a long and rigorous journey on foot from the coast of East Africa to the heart of what, in those days, was known as the Dark Continent. Speke reached the lake on the 30th of July, 1858. He named it Lake Victoria after his queen.
Speke was therefore the first European to see the exit from the main source of the White Nile. In his day he was a prominent figure, and although it may safely be said that his reputation has faded with the years, this monument marks an important milestone in the European nation's grab for Africa in general, and the Nile Valley in particular.
Once the British had secured control of Lake Victoria, they made plans for giant dams on the lake. Dams that would make Egypt a greater source of cotton than ever, and enable Britain to regulate the volume of water flowing down Egypt's lifeline. However, it was not until 1954 that a dam was built across the Nile River. First in a series of major dams on the Nile, the Owens Falls hydroelectric project was a symbol of cooperation between Britain, Uganda, and Egypt. The dam generates electricity for Uganda and Kenya. It controls the flow of the Nile into Egypt. Today, the White Nile Valley and the lakes along the river are clogged by a mass of water hyacinth. This is the result, it is said, of the folly of a naive European. The man in question wanted an ornamental plant for his garden. Today, the harbor where the boat train linking Uganda and Tanzania leaves from is in danger of being choked by the weed, as are irrigation systems all the way downstream. But Britain's seizure of the Nile lakes was anything but folly. And to consolidate their hold, they built this railway from Mombasa. In 1898, the conflict over the Nile waters led to the annexation of the Sudan by the British. Toward the end of the 1890s, the British occupied the Sudan after a bloody campaign graphically described in the book The River War by field correspondent Winston Churchill. The British were not especially interested in the desert and northern Sudan. It was the Nile River that concerned them. They knew that damming Lake Victoria in Uganda would be of no benefit without improving the course of the river in southern Sudan. It is outside Khartoum, in the Sudan, where the two main branches of the river, the White Nile and the Blue Nile, converge. The problem was that the river wound its way through one of the great swamplands in the world, the Sud. Nearly half the water in the White Nile is lost to evaporation. A canal that avoided the swamp would enable more water to flow down to Egypt. Because they lived on the banks of the Nile, the local Africans found themselves caught up in political rivalries. But again, the British were unable to implement their plans. It was not until the end of the 1970s that the governments of Egypt and the Sudan set about excavating the canal. A few years later, guerrilla forces in southern Sudan attacked the canal builders, and work on the canal was suspended. Ethiopia is a crucial link in the Nile River system. The Blue Nile starts here, in Lake Tana, and supplies more than 80% of the river's flow. The Blue Nile waterfalls are imposing. Britain realized their strategic importance to the Nile River Valley. Vast quantities of fertile silt, brought by summer floodwaters, came pouring down into Egypt. Armed with this knowledge, the British were quick to safeguard their and Egypt's interests by
the boiling lake. But that was as far as he got. All at once, eruptions began to hurl lava bombs into the air and against the inner crater wall. Apprehensive of his ropes burning through, Giggenbach returned from hell with his life intact, but with his clothing singed and torn. This expedition failed to capture a fragment of the giant's breath. Erebus had repelled an attempt to comprehend its underworld. Today, Erebus is no more predictable. To explore its heart requires courage, skill, and luck. The rocks inside the crater are coated not only with ice but also with salts of sulfur as they react with the copious clouds of gas. The floor at the bottom of the outer crater is a minefield of vents and fumaroles. Suddenly, the angry giant is awake again, warning us to come no further. Stopped so close to our goal for daring to pry into its secrets. But we will try once more. This time we join Dante, an unmanned vehicle designed for exploration in space. It's to be tested here in this unearthly place. Its slow spider walk down the crater wall is monitored via satellite by NASA scientists in the United States. Dante responds to commands issued from many thousands of kilometers away. But after some progress, a vital communication link is severed. Again, failure. Perhaps Erebus will never allow intrusion. Remote cameras peering over the edge of the crater have revealed why. Yet while Erebus holds fast to many secrets, it's known that the boiling magma in the neck of the volcano is made up of silica, metals, and other elements. And when the bombs of thick lava explode and splatter over the mountain, they reveal their crystals. As ice is a pure crystal from the sea, so these rock crystals 10 centimeters or 4 inches long are from a molten lake. Nowhere else in the world is feldspar like this to be found as such large crystals. Ice quickly covers the cooling bombs. Creeping ice crystals cover everything in Antarctica. Our incredible journey began and ends with ice. All the way to the top of Erebus, we have been confronted by its mysteries and have marveled at its magic. There is even magic in its gas plume, gold. One of the few volcanoes on Earth to offer such an unexpected treasure. There have been many treasures and rewards in coming from solid water to liquid rock. But the real reward is greater knowledge. It's there to be claimed all the way from below the glacial tongue to this remote window on the center of the Earth. Through it, Mount Erebus may one day offer us a much clearer view of our planet's origins.